Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are living organisms whose genetic material has been artificially manipulated in a laboratory through genetic engineering and other things such as just things that you would do in a lab. This creates combinations of plants, animals, bacteria, and different types of viruses and genes that do not occur in nature or through traditional crossbreeding methods that we use in the United States. Our primary health care should begin on the farm and in our hearts, not in some laboratory or some biotech and pharmaceutical companies. You may not know what you're eating, but these crops, despite the fact that they appear in 80% of all packaged foods sold in the United States, because the US is one of the very few places that have, in the developed world, that have not eliminated the GMO and have not required producers to label the ingredients that have modification. So for me, I've come to learn about GMOs because a few years ago I was diagnosed with a thyroid problem, and according to my doctor, my consumption of animal products and different types of GMO products was affecting my health. GMOs, I believe, have a greater impact than we even realize. The safety of GMOs and foods containing GMOs impact not only us, but they also impact farmers and impact the environment. So there's a lot of different effects that the GMOs have, and they're not necessarily healthy. So what do we need to know about GMOs? A growing body of evidence connects that GMOs with health problems, environmental damage, violation of farmers and consumers' rights. So in general, it appears that GMOs are not good for us or the economy or anything in our world. More than 60 countries around the world, including Australia, Japan, and all of the European Union, require GMOs to be labeled on their products. Globally, there's 300 regions without bans on GMOs. With outright bans on GMOs, sorry. So just so you get a better idea, here's a map that shows you that us and Canada, we are the only places on this map, you see the green ones that are labeled, are the ones that do require GMOs to be labeled on their products. It's kind of sad that us in Canada are the only ones that do not require GMO labeling. So GMOs are not good, obviously, and 80% of the packaged foods purchased in the United States contain GMOs. So what may they be? Most packaged foods contain ingredients derived from corn, soy, canola, sugar, and the vast majority of those crops are grown in North America and they are genetically modified. But what about animal products? Non-GMO products, you can buy livestock and things like that, but they're typically genetically engineered. So it's not the actual animal that's being engineered, it's the product that the animal is consuming. The majority of animals are fed cornmeal and things such as that. And corn is the #1 genetically modified organism in the world. In terms of fruits and vegetables, you might think, oh, well, they're not genetically modified. But in reality, the 9 top crops that are genetically modified are alfalfa, cotton, corn, canola, soy, papaya, sugar beets, zucchini, and yellow summer squash. So, here you go. GMOs, not good, and they are in so many products that we consume. It's not good. Genetically modified tomatoes actually were discontinued in 1997 due to problems with shipping and flavor and things such as that. And then potatoes were also discontinued in 2001 due to being rejected by different fast food chains and things like that because of the poor quality. So now that we understand where GMOs can be found, how do they impact the farmers and the environment? Good question. So due to both drifting and mixing, so drifting is just the wind blowing things and mixing the different types of seeds and sprays that can be used to create genetically modified foods that can impact other farms. And then also pollination, so different products that need to be pollinated, and then the bees fly to another product and they pollinate that, but they might still be carrying some of the sprays or the GMOs that were found on the other plants that they pollinated. So these crops can be contaminated just by nearby crops. And in fact, virtually heritage varieties of corn in Mexico, so all varieties of corn in Mexico, which is the origin of corn, have been found to have some type of contamination, which is kind of sad because corn is a very, very, very important product in the majority of things that we eat, and it's found in a lot of things that we eat. So genetically modified crops are responsible also for super weeds and super bugs and all this stuff, which can only be killed by even more toxic chemicals and poisons than the ones that we are using to make the GMOs. So how is that healthy? It's not. So GMOs are a direct extension of chemical agriculture, and these are developed and sold by the world's largest companies, which is scary. Purdue, big chicken company, but their chickens are fed cornmeal and things like that. They're not fed just a normal chicken's diet. I don't know what that might be, but it's not necessarily supposed to be cornmeal. And like I said before, corn, one of the worst, most often genetically modified things. The long-term impacts of these GMOs are still kind of unknown, but once released into the environment, these organisms cannot be recalled, which is, again, scary. Modifying the genetic material in plants does contain a certain amount of risks. These may include unexpected harmful genetic outcomes, less resistance to certain pests, and cross-pollinating with traditional crops, which could potentially lead to the extinction of these organisms, as well as unforeseen consequences. Because as we know, we don't have concrete evidence of what type of impact these GMOs will have on our world, but we know that there are some negative ones out there. We just aren't 100% sure what they all are. So my best advice to everyone as a consumer would be to just kind of be a little bit more mindful of what foods you're purchasing. Read the labels. If something's organic, that means it's a non-GMO item. So again, make sure you look for these items and make sure you try and stay away from them. If you do choose to purchase them, check, see if they're labeled as organic or if they have any type of indication if it does contain a GMO. Stay away from prepackaged foods. A lot of prepackaged foods contain cornmeal or something of that nature, which again will have GMOs in it because the majority of cornmeal comes from Mexico, which is genetically modified and to some degree. If you're going to buy chicken or poultry or beef, try and buy organic. I know not everybody has the resources and the income to buy all organic. The majority of the population does not have the money to buy all organic foods, but if you just try and swap out small things, you never know, it might impact your health. It's been said that people do actually drop their blood pressure, their heart rate, their cholesterol just by switching to organic foods. So maybe just keep in mind that there are some benefits to switching from regular to organic foods. But many of the genetically modified foods that we know will be safe, but will all of them or most of them be safe? Nobody really knows. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.